students are often surprised when I ask them, what do you think the percent difference in effectiveness is between the placebo and the active ingredient for the medications that are approved? And it's a few percentage points, 5, 10%. In other words, you give 100 people the placebo, on the average, it varies by study, it varies by medication, it varies by disease states, but on the average, about 40% of the people get better on the sugar pill alone. In other words, I tell people that I have a new medication for headaches. I take 100 people who claim to have headaches. I give them the sugar pill. If they believe they're taking the medication, 40% of them will tell you, I no longer have headaches, and they took the sugar pill. Now, if about 50% of them who took the active ingredient also improve on the headache, then we say, look, the medication is effective. It's better than the placebo. The placebo effect, or the placebo response as we call it, proves right there what the mind-body effect is all about. Expectation of amelioration, expectation that you're going to do better is enough to make it better. This is a fascinating idea. Now, in one paper that I wrote, I compared how much money is spent on pharmacological research exploiting the placebo response in contrast to how much money is spent collectively as a country on the study of the placebo response itself. It is peanuts as compared to pharmacological research. I'm thinking like $890 million or something a year, which for me, it's kind of a lot, but for the country as a whole, it's kind of nothing. And so it's a tiny little drop in the bucket of people actually studying the placebo response. Dude, if 40% of the people get better taking nothing but the sugar pill, let's study that as a medication. And that's not quite what's happening. But it is real. So those are examples of the mind serving as medicine, the mind altering the body. Now, if we take that a step further, you all have heard that, your genes define your health. Who has heard of that? Blame your parents. I mean, if you have a genetic condition, it's not your fault. You're born with those genes. Everybody has heard this. Genes determine your fate. According to your genetics, that's what you inherited. That's what's going on. Well, we have known for about 40, 50 years that that's not the entire picture. True, genes do have something to do with it, but it's not the whole picture because there's this whole other science called epigenetics, which has to do with the expression or suppression of genes. In other words, a gene is a set of instructions. Think of it as a set of instructions. I may have a gene for a particular disease, but if that gene is not expressed, the disease will never happen. Conversely, if a gene is expressed, the disease will happen, right? So the science that talks about, that studies gene expression or suppression is called epigenetics, not genetics. And so nowadays they have done all these experiments showing that gene expression can be selectively changed.